All right, welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing a 3,000 subscriber special. This is a Q&A video. So we did a video, I don't know, week ago, week and a half ago, something like that, where basically I gave a little bit of backstory of myself and then asked you guys for some questions, and a bunch of you asked a lot of questions. So I wanted to answer those questions. We're out here. It's a beautiful spring day. The weather's finally getting nice, and I got the chance to come out today and do some grilling and that kind of thing. So I figured I'd go ahead and just answer questions if my phone cooperates. So I'll go over each of the comments that are on here and then answer the questions as they come along. I just want to kind of highlight everybody that commented and took the time to watch the video and all that kind of stuff. So this is in no specific order. It might be like newest comments first. I'm not really sure. First one is from the Foxton channel. Great video. Hope to see more like this in the future. Maybe. I don't know. If this kind of video is popular, maybe we'll do some more stuff like this where I can talk about some other philosophy kind of stuff. I'm not really sure yet. We'll see. We'll see where things go. Calcool321 says, late to the party. Cool to see you're working on their Bachelor in Business. I'm also a fellow marketing major here, graduating this year. Congratulations. Also playing through the Walking Dead series, so it's cool to see a video breakdown after I played the episode. I would like to see a series on Cyberpunk 2077 in the future. Keep up the good work. And I would love to do Cyberpunk at some point in the future. I haven't played it yet. I kind of avoided it when it first came out because of how much controversy was around it. And it's not really my style of game normally, but it does look like it'd be pretty interesting, and I would like to cover it at some point, but this could be probably a ways down the road. Riley says, so happy to learn more about you. I'm a silent subscriber and I always assumed you were a professor, to be honest. I have a background in literature, and it's refreshing to witness a wave of people breaking down these interactive stories, both narratively and philosophically. Can't wait to see more content. And it's super cool that you're an author too. I write comments prematurely. It's understandable. I get it. I had, growing up, I always wanted to be a teacher, but I never really was able to pursue that. And just in the past few years, I've kind of tried to pursue more academic things, and they haven't always worked out. I'm glad that this is, because I'm enjoying this a lot. I don't think I'd do very well as a professor, at least not at the moment. But I'm glad that I'm hoping that some people are getting something from these series, or learning something, maybe coming away with something that they wouldn't have known before. You know, it's one of those things where sometimes some of the stuff that I put out might be a little bit more academic than I mean it to be. I want it to be as accessible to everybody as possible, so I try to tone it down a little bit. But hopefully, it does still give some people a different perspective on things, I guess is the best way to put it. Boy Who Actually Are You says, your content is great. I can't wait for more. Thank you. Rebecca Lynn 4396, I'm glad you decided to do your moral videos again because they are so good. I really love your Walking Dead videos. Thank you, and I'm glad that I decided to do them again too, because they've reached a lot of people, and it's been really great and really cool to see different people's perspectives, and to get people thinking, and to do my own thinking too, because there's been a couple people that have pointed out things in the comments that I've been like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. I hadn't thought about it that way. So I appreciate that. Chad Chester 7876 says, please do Spec Ops: The Line. I would like to know your thoughts about it, about the game, its themes, and how it presents those said themes. Unfortunately, it may be hard to find due to the game being delisted on every digital store, so physical copies are your best bet. Yeah, I looked up, I was trying to find out more about that because I hadn't heard about that game. It looks interesting, but like you said, it's nearly impossible to find digitally without pirating it, and I don't like. I've had some bad experiences pirating in the past. Years and years ago, viruses are always a risk with that kind of stuff. So I just try to stay away from that stuff as a rule. But and then physical copies aren't going to work because I don't have a place to put them. I suppose I could do something on a console maybe if I get a physical copy. But some of those are ranging in the hundreds or thousands of dollars because they're so rare. So I don't know if that'll ever be something I would get a chance to do. Cyberbeam says, are you fearful you're going to back yourself into a corner with the videos you make? Meaning, if you do ever try to branch off, the same audience won't carry over. So that's always a possibility no matter what you're doing on YouTube. It doesn't matter the kind of content you're doing. It doesn't matter the kind of channel you are, the niche that you're in. There's always a chance that people would just lose interest, or that you'll try to pivot and do something else and lose a bunch of people. With what I'm doing right now, there's, I guess, a small chance out there that somebody that finds my channel only likes The Walking Dead and and likes nothing but The Walking Dead. But realistically, most people have a pretty wide, diverse range of interest when it comes to games. So I'm not overly worried. What I'd be mostly worried about, I guess, would just be that the algorithm would decide that it doesn't want to show me anymore, which is always a possibility. But realistically, the way YouTube works now, typically it will show videos to people if they've been watching a specific channel whenever those new videos come out. So for the most part, every one of you out there, even if you're not subscribed, when my videos drop, if you've been watching them recently, they're showing up in your home feed. So that's kind of the new way that YouTube works, and it works out really well, I think, for creators, especially small creators. But yeah, there is always the chance. Social media is fickle. YouTube is fickle. You never know exactly what's going to happen. But that's also why, like, I'm trying to build in a lot of different things. I'm trying to branch out. I'm running it kind of from a business sense. So I'm looking at it from the sense of what makes, what do people want to see? What are people likely to want to see in the future? That's why I've got things like on the community tab, I am having people vote on what game's going to be next. So that kind of stuff, and letting the audience participate, letting you all help shape the channel, is doing everything that I can do to try and prevent something like that from happening. That being said, yeah, it's always a concern, but so far things have been going good, and I'm having a lot of fun, and I think a lot of people seem to be enjoying the videos. So hopefully that will last. Santiago Barreto 9357, just watched some of your Walking Dead videos. Very nice commentary, thought process, and philosophical analysis. Definitely subbed, and a pleasure. Greetings from Bogota, Colombia. Greetings. Welcome from Colombia. It's kind of cool to have to know that people around the world, like in different places, would be seeing the stuff that I'm putting out. That's the nature of YouTube, obviously. Like, it's a global thing, but like, it's kind of neat, to know that it reaches across boundaries. It reaches across from different countries around the world, that kind of thing. So that's really cool. Welcome from Colombia. Chewy5794. Ever think going to like shooter games decisions like Call of Duty or even Ready or Not? So not necessarily shooter games. They wouldn't really work very well for the philosophy series. On a general rule, there might be some decisions in certain Call of Duty games and the stories that could probably be looked at from a philosophical standpoint, as far as what you would do, whether you should follow orders blindly, that kind of stuff. So that's something that maybe at some point, I do have one of the games to be voted on is actually Splinter Cell, the double agent version, Splinter Cell game. I put that on there because it is a game that allows you to make decisions on what you should do, whether you should follow orders, whether you should, you're undercover, and whether you should side with the bad guys, or how often you should side with the bad guys, that kind of thing. So something like that would probably be about the extent. But again, it would depend on partially the audience and partially how much of a moral or philosophical debate could be had based on the choices in those games. So that's a good question. Adams Milowski, 8415. You have to excuse. I can't always see things close up very well. Do you have some religion background? So, yes, I was born Lutheran and raised into the Church of Christ. So I grew up very, very religious. We were almost fundamentalist in a way. As I grew older, I grew out of that, I guess is the best way to say it. So I started asking questions that I couldn't find answers to, and I went out and started really, really researching, because my entire goal is to not believe things that aren't true. I want to believe things that are true, and I want to know what's out there, what makes sense. So from a religious standpoint, I started looking out and trying to find answers to those questions I had. To this day, I haven't found any answers. I would be considered an agnostic atheist, technically, because I don't have a belief in a God. But I don't think that, I don't think that you can know that. I wouldn't claim that there is no God, for instance. I would say, I don't know. And I think that's the fun part of philosophy, especially, is the I don't knows and the going out there and searching for answers and asking the right questions, because 9 times out of 10 it's about asking the right questions. That's the best thing you can possibly do, is try and figure out not what the right answer is, but what the right question to ask is. Because even if you don't have the right answer, it might not be, is there a God? It might be, what is my purpose, and how do I determine that? And looking for those deeper things and finding that deeper meaning. And so that's the fun of that. That's where I got into philosophy. Really was spending the better part of the 2010s really just digging into philosophical concepts, ethics, morality, learning about religion, different religions, and seeing where different people came from, what evidence for different things was out there, and learning how to think, as opposed to what I had been taught growing up, what to think. And I think a lot of people miss the distinction there. There is a how to think versus a what to think. And if you learn how to think, you're going to wind up being right more often than not on things, because when you don't know, you're going to admit, I don't know. And when you do know, it's because you did a lot of research and really looked into it. So if you can ask more questions, and we'll probably do another one of these at some point, and I can reference back. If anything that I say today raises other questions, feel free to ask those. I might answer them in the comments. I might wait until a future video and just do another Q&A video at some point. The Duxa says, "Oh man, you should have told me you hadn't played season 4. Literally spoiled the story." Sorry, man. There's nothing to be sorry about. No, I don't mind spoilers. I haven't played season 4. I've played the first couple of episodes. I didn't finish the season, and I don't necessarily avoid spoilers. I know Lily comes back. I know that there's some stuff in there, but that'll still be. When I get to that point, that it will still be a surprise to me in a way, because I haven't experienced it for myself. So I don't necessarily care about spoilers. I've been that way for a long time. Like even back, the Marvel movies have been big for years. When Avengers Endgame came out, a lot of people went and saw it before I got to see it. And I was having discussions with them about what happened. I still enjoyed the ending of the movie, even though I knew what was going to happen, because it was experiencing it for myself. So it's the same thing for games, really. Banana Nowie 3552. I think I'm Banana Nowie. I don't know. I think I'm getting that right. I'm probably getting it very wrong. But it says, I think Disco Elysium and Detroit Become Human could be very good contenders for philosophy in video games. Yeah, Detroit Become Human is actually one that I've got on the the list to be voted on, because I looked into it. I'd never seen it. I heard vaguely about it, but I didn't know what it was about. And it reminded me a lot, when I looked at it, of Fallout 4 with the synths, and trying to determine, whether what makes you human, what makes you when you should have rights, that kind of thing. I'm looking forward to talking about either of those games specifically because of that, and because I think I'd mentioned in the prior video that I'm a Star Trek fan. One of my favorite episodes of Star Trek was when Lieutenant Commander Data was being they were trying to take him as property for the Federation, and they were trying to say that they were going to take him apart and figure him out and make a million of him, so that they could basically make an entire race of Datas. And they had an entire trial to try and figure out whether or not he deserved rights. And that was one of my favorite episodes, and I just love talking about that subject in particular, because it's very interesting. Where is that line? When do you become human? Do you have to be human to have rights? So there's a lot of things to consider there. So I'm definitely looking forward to those. Disco Elysium, I've got it on the list of potential games for the future. I did add that to the list. I don't know when we'll get there. It's just a lot of it's going to depend on what happens in the next the next few months, next couple of years with the channel. As I grow, I've only got so many hours in the day, so I can only cover so many videos, games at a time. So yeah, but I do have those down there, so I appreciate those suggestions. Mesda, I'm not even sure if that's pronounceable. MESD. MDDFSF. You are a channel member as well, so I apologize if that is supposed to be. I'm just not sure how to say that. Really glad I found your channel. Looking forward to future videos. One question I'd ask is if you'll cover Telltale Game of Thrones, one of the weaker Telltale games, but it's personally one of my guilty pleasures as a fan of medieval settings. Cheers. I did. So I looked on Steam. I think I can't remember if it was available or if it's not available on Steam anymore. I feel like it might have been available. I would love to cover all of the Telltale games at some point. I was never a fan of Game of Thrones, but I think maybe getting in that universe in a game where you can make choices and that kind of thing would be kind of cool. So that is one of the. If I can get a copy of it, I would love to cover it at some point. HJP05 says, "Oh, good, glad you're doing things like that." Referring to doing the questions. Here are my question submissions. So, one, if you were in the game, what character from the Walking Dead series would best describe yourself? Who would it be and why? So, I always identified, I think, the most with Lee, and I don't know if that's because he is just the season 1 protagonist and because you're supposed to identify with him, but I think he's very thoughtful. He tries to do the right thing even when it's not the best thing necessarily for him. And so I kind of it was easy for me to step into his shoes in the game, and make decisions that I thought that I would make, and I could see him making a lot of the same decisions that I would make. That being said, I could see I could relate in some way to several of the characters, if only for a little bit. I could relate a little bit to Luke, a little bit to Kenny, a little bit to man, I can't think of his name now. Season 2, Nick's uncle. Man, my mind is going blank, and I'll put the name up on the screen later. But I can relate to him a lot because he's very thoughtful. He knows what's what, and he's trying to do the right thing for everybody, looking out for the group, that kind of thing. So, but yeah, Lee is probably the one I would identify with the most, just because I think he was just made as an everyman character. But the academic side, the professor in him, I think I line up with that a lot. Second question, who's your favorite character in the Walking Dead series? So I would have to say my favorite character in the Walking Dead series would probably be, probably Kenny. Mostly because he is such a dynamic character. There is so much to him. And he kind of reminds me a little bit of my stepdad growing up. They have a lot of the same attributes. But Kenny, he looks out for everybody, but he also has that temper about him. But I think he's a very believable character. He's one of those down-to-earth people that you can see somebody like that actually existing. And especially like growing up in the country and that kind of thing, like seeing, or in a small town, like seeing people like that. The kind of guy that that if you have a trouble with your vehicle, you can just pull your car up and they'll help you out because they know exactly how to fix every single vehicle out there, that kind of thing. So I'd have to say Kenny's probably my favorite. Second favorite, I know you didn't ask that, but I don't want to just give Kenny because he's kind of a generic answer. But my second favorite character would probably be Carter. As controversial as that might sound, because Carter is a bad guy, right? He's not somebody that you would normally align with. And in fact, depending on when this video is coming out, the Friend or Foe episode for Carver is going to be out, and he's going to be a foe in that episode, right? But he is he's one of those guys that you just love to hate. It's like Negan, on the Walking Dead show. I loved Negan. I thought, he has a swagger about him. Even though he's the bad guy, you're rooting against him, but it's like, yeah, but he's kind of cool. And Carver doesn't necessarily have the cool aspect, but he does kind of have that aspect of you could just see him being kind of chill and he doesn't really overreact so much. We do see him get what seems a little overreaction with Kenny there, but he still kind of stays calm and relaxed through all of that. And there's something about characters in games and movies and shows and stuff that keep that calm demeanor that it's something I really enjoy seeing. So, third question, what other games do you plan on, are you going to cover in the future? Or are you keeping it strictly story-based games? So, story-based games are games with choices. Like I said, we've got the vote thing up so you can see what's going to be coming next. A game I'm looking forward to covering at some point is going to be Red Dead Redemption, just because I am addicted to story-based games. Okay, I love. I might branch out at some point and cover something like we were talking earlier. about, I could cover Minecraft, talk about the dragon and whether you should kill the dragon, the philosophy, the ethics behind killing the dragon or the villagers or the illagers, and talking about that kind of stuff. So maybe at some point I'll branch out to something like that. I think it might be kind of interesting, but it just kind of depends on how things go over the next few months. So thank you for the comment. That was all. You had 3 different questions there. So, America has a problem. Chile says, I thought this was about to be assessing I thought this was about to be assessing if a subscriber was a friend or a foe. That tickled me a bit. And that would be an interesting series, looking at whether or not subscribers are friends or foe. Thank you for the comment. Abby7945 had a long one, and I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's a long one, and I read the whole thing, but I'm not going to read it here because the first one they're just kind of responding to some of the stuff that I said in the other video. So we'll get down here to the questions. As for any other questions for your upcoming Q&A, pick, choose, condense. I'll read the actual full questions, though. First one, any plans to cover TV shows, movies, animated content in the future? Well, it doesn't apply to games directly unless you want to focus on video game adaptations. Would love to hear your take on classics like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, The Truman Show, Beautiful Mind, Dead Poet Society, or any other Ghibli movie. With how your train of thought develops, even with the script, would kill for movie reviews, essays from you. I wouldn't mind maybe doing that at some point. My biggest problem with those is trying to actually capture the footage for them, because like with a game, I can just record myself playing the game. With movies and shows, it's a little more difficult to get the actual stuff to back up when I'm talking. So while I wouldn't mind that at some point, it would depend. A couple of your suggestions there. The Truman Show, love the Truman Show. It's been a long time since I saw it, but interesting concept. How would you handle being in the cast? How would you handle being Truman? I think that would be kind of an interesting concept to look at philosophically. Is it okay without somebody's consent for them to watch their every move, to see them every second of the day, make a television show out of them? That would be an interesting concept. Another one, the Dead Poet Society. I love Robin Williams, so I would love to cover Dead Poet Society and other movies like that, because Robin Williams has some of the greatest movies. He's one of my favorite actors of all time. So, second question: as for anything else specifically nerdy that you could show off, rave about, and you list a whole bunch of stuff on here. Legos specifically. Funny story. I've been wanting to get some Legos. I loved Legos growing up, so I wanted to try and get some as an adult, but they're super expensive. For a few weeks ago, my wife actually bought me a Lego Harry Potter Diagon Alley. So I actually spent time building that, putting it together. It took me a couple of days, just listening to music and relaxing, putting those together. So yes, I love Legos. I would, if I could afford it, I would buy a lot more Legos. We'll see how things go. Maybe someday, as far as, so you got board games, wiki rabbit holes. Oh, I used to go down, not just wiki, but YouTube rabbit holes all the time, because there's certain topics, especially when it comes to the paranormal and stuff like that. Even though I don't necessarily believe in ghosts, I'll go down rabbit holes all day about ghost stories and that kind of stuff. So I love those kind of things. Specifically, yeah, I don't believe in ghosts, but I love going and exploring like places. We're going to the I can't think of the name of the asylum. My mind is blanking out. We're going to an abandoned asylum this weekend, actually, and going to be spending the night ghost hunting, even though I don't think I'm going to see any ghost stuff, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And I nerd out about that shit all day long. YouTube channel shout outs. I don't know that I have a channel to shout out per se. There's other channels that I like in this genre specifically. I've been watching Joshua TXI lately. There's probably a couple others out there. Lenny's okay. I like Lenny. He does some cool Walking Dead stuff. As far as Walking Dead, outside of that, I don't know that I would have any shout outs, especially not any shout outs that would make a lot of sense. My son's got a YouTube channel that he's trying to start up, so I mean, I guess I could shout out his channel. But yeah, I don't have a lot of YouTube channel shout outs that I would be able to do at this point. Maybe when I get bigger, that would be something I would love to do, is shout out smaller channels and see, help out other people that are in a situation like what I'm in now or smaller, you know. Puzzles, hyperfixations, comics, manga, favorite obscure history facts. Man, I should have written down some of these. Favorite obscure history facts, I probably could have gone on. If I probably could have written some down because I love history in general. I'm a sucker for anything historical, especially when it comes to American history, but also I talked about my Legends and Tales channel, and I could actually bring up some obscure history facts from that because, like, one of the first videos that I ever made when I was starting to kind of get serious about YouTube, I did the walking around cemetery stuff. But one of those days walking around cemeteries, I found a headstone that led me to unraveling a murder mystery from 1870s where this little girl was murdered, and they thought they knew who did it, but the guy, instead of standing trial, was actually lynched, and they took him out of the courthouse and hung him up from a tree in front of the courthouse. His wife later possibly admitted to doing it, or she might have been involved somehow. But I did a documentary, and I actually remade that documentary a couple years ago, talking about it and going more in depth with it. So, and that was in Bellefontaine, Ohio. That's something that I think most people would never have ever heard about. And it's those kind of things that I'm always trying to uncover. I'm always trying to find. One of the most recent Legend and Tales videos I did was about a woman named Alice Barrett, who was quite likely the first like big female embezzler. She embezzled tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars from her employer in the 1890s, and basically it's forgotten in history. So I uncovered the story and kind of dug it up and shared it because I think it's important to share that, to learn from that kind of stuff. And that's why I have the Legends and Tales channel, so I can share those kind of historical things. But those would be my favorite obscure history kind of things. I don't know that I have any hyperfixations other than maybe philosophy. I would say you almost have to be hyperfixated on something like this to be able to create an entire YouTube channel where you're talking about the philosophy of video games, right? There we go. had to refine it. Okay. Do you plan to use your business degree specifically for YouTube or personal ventures offline? So yeah, I'm working on obviously the YouTube channel, and then my wife and I have a business that we're working on together. She likes to make candles and body butter and wax melts. So we've been working on that the past couple of years. It's going a little slow this year just because like things are a little bit rough. So trying to figure things out, hoping that going into next year we can start selling more and getting out there. We were going to shows last year around the state of Ohio and selling. I was selling my books and she was selling her candles. So I'm using it for that, among things with this YouTube channel, obviously. Next question: what kind of music do you listen to? However random, sporadic you want to answer. Any artists or bands you'd recommend? So I listen to a wide range of music. On any given day, I might be listening to Garth Brooks, George Strait, Lone Star, country, a lot of Kenny Chesney, Tim McGraw, that kind of stuff. Or I might be jumping into some AC/DC or some Led Zeppelin or some Leonard Skinner, or just go down the list. I might be listening to Eminem or Tupac, or maybe I'll put on Mozart one day and listen to some classical stuff. It's a very wide range. If I were to pick one thing specifically to listen to, it would probably be kind of country reggae mix like Kenny Chesney, or I would listen to maybe some Bob Marley. You know, I like the island style type of stuff. I'm an island boy at heart, so I would be sitting on the beach if I had my way, sitting on the beach and enjoying the beautiful weather and just kind of chilling most days. So yeah, it's a very wide range for me when it comes to that kind of stuff. There's another part on here that you had. Artists, bands, any game soundtracks you love. Game soundtracks, I don't really listen to a lot of game soundtracks. I like some music in different games. If I had to pick like a game that I would listen to music from, Skyrim. You know, you can't beat that when the Skyrim soundtrack comes on. That's about the most in-depth that I would get. Fun follow-up, I like to ask people if you could make your own song professional radio spotlight. What would it be about? What genre would it be in? Would you sing? If not free of charge, would you want to sing? So, if I could make my own song, I don't know. I would probably do something. I don't even know, to be honest. I used to write songs. I wanted to be a singer, actually, when I was growing up. I loved everything about like Garth Brooks and Kenny Chesney specifically. And I'd written a bunch of songs that were kind of like laid back, kind of relaxing type of things, specifically about like being on an island and relaxing and sitting on the beach and that. So, what I want to sing, I wouldn't be opposed to it, although I don't know that I would be very good at it. I don't know that I have a voice that people would want to hear when it comes to singing. If that being said, I will sing the hell out of some Hamilton on a pretty regular basis when I'm driving around, and especially late at night when we're driving back somewhere and the kids are in the car. They love that when I put Hamilton on. Random, but your shirt is so fun. Would love to know your go-tos to get fun polos, print shirts, be your own. I don't really think much about it. If I see a shirt, if I'm out somewhere that like I really like, it could be at Walmart, it could be at Kohl's, it could be out at a touristy shop somewhere if I'm traveling or something. I'm not really picky. I don't really have a go-to, for instance. Something like this comes from like Walmart, you know. They have a lot of really quirky kind of shirts, and I like to be a little bit fun with the shirts sometimes. That shirt specifically was the skulls puking rainbows, and I cannot remember for the life of me where that shirt came from. It may have been a Walmart shirt, but I cannot remember for sure. My wife would probably remember, but she's walking around, so I don't know. So that's all of that one. Hidgebeard. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I'm probably butchering that. Stumbled upon your channel a few days ago with your Walking Dead videos. Really enjoyed watching them in the background while I play some games. Truly a hidden gem of a channel. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much. I'm glad. I have spent a lot of time listening to YouTube channels in the background when I'm playing games and stuff. So to know that my channel is on in the background is kind of cool.
Why are you pointing at me?
I couldn't remember if we had where I got that skull shirt. You got it for me, but I can't remember where. If it was at Walmart or where it was at. Was it at Walmart? Okay, she's confirming now. It's at Walmart.
No, it wasn't. It
No?
was Kohl's.
It was Kohl's.
It was Kohl's.
Okay, never mind. It was Kohl's. So there's your answer to the question. The skull shirt came from Kohl's. Casey Bricks 21. The RoboCop game is great for choices with your like of Star Trek and possibly sci-fi. It'd be a great game for you to play. Also, the game is full of choices. I've added that one to my list, so maybe at some point in the future, it depends on, like I said, where we go and how much time we have. If down the road, I'd like to get to every game, but like, there's only so many days in the year, right? Mr. Bubbles 2306. You should totally do music reviews from commenters. I think that would be sick. I don't know that I would be good at music reviews. I'm not really. I like a lot of music, but I don't really get a lot of critical. When it comes to music and reviewing that kind of stuff. But I don't know, maybe someday in the future. Buttery Scotch says, if you're looking for more choices matter type of games, Mass Effect Trilogy should be right up your alley. It's a sci-fi military RPG trilogy where your choices affect the outcomes from the game to game in a way that has never really been attempted since. Also, if you're looking for Fallout 4 in the future, maybe consider its predecessors like New Vegas 1, 2, and 3 as well. Best of luck with your degree and your channel in the future. Yeah, the Fallout games... I tried to play Fallout 3. I never got around to trying New Vegas, but they look interesting. It's just graphically, it's so hard for me to go back to some of those older games. It's the same reason I never played Oblivion, although they just really re-released that with upgrades. But it's just so hard, when you get used to one control scheme in the game and that kind of stuff, going back and playing those. So I'd like to maybe at some point, we'll see. I'll probably do Fallout 4 before I would do its predecessors. And then as far as the Mass Effect, I've seen Mass Effect. I know it's a very popular game. At some point, probably, but I've never played it, so I'll have to check that out. Pseudo Negative says, "Good to hear your story a bit more. I can't wait for your analysis videos about The Wolf Among Us." And that one's actually up for a vote, so maybe that one will be the next video we cover, or the next game we cover. Super Cosmic Space. There are some choices-driven games that have told some of the best stories I've ever encountered in games, but unfortunately aren't very YouTube-friendly. I don't know if you played Suzerain, but it's a text-based political thriller and a fictional analog for Baltic State during the Cold War. Immaculate game and story comprising entirely of choices, but quite hard work. Might be something you'd enjoy even if not making a video around. I'll have to check it out. I'm picky about my games sometimes, but if it's choices driven, if it's got a good story, chances are I'd probably enjoy it. It'd be something I'd be willing to look at, so I'll have to check it out. Colby wants to know if I'm planning on doing Detroit Become Human. Yep, we talked about that earlier. Augustin 12689, one of the channel members. What is this? I thought it was a video about the guy from Alvin and the Chipmunks. I feel like that's an inside joke of some kind. I'm not really sure. I think I had replied to you about that on another video, and you said you're talking about the villain, so I'm not sure which villain you're talking about. You'll have to let me know in the comments. If I ever did video or movie reviews, maybe. And I think that's everything. So that was a lot of good comments, a lot of good questions. And, we got a lot of cool stuff coming up on the channel. I want to thank everybody that is, whether you're subscribed and you're coming here and watching these kind of videos, whether you are commenting on all the videos, a channel member, a patron, all that kind of stuff. Y'all are awesome. I never imagined, 2 months ago, it's April, right? 2 months ago in February, when my first video started getting a little bit of traction, and I hit 50 subscribers and then 70 subscribers and 100, and I was like, this is cool. I can't imagine it ever going any further. And now we're at 3,000 subscribers, and it blows me away. I cannot believe that how much has happened in the last 2 months. And I'm looking forward to what's going to happen in the rest of the year and in the coming years as we move forward. So if you have any other questions based around some of the stuff that I talked about, or questions that I answered, if you have follow-up questions, like I said, ask them in the comments down below, and I will do my best to either answer them in the comments section, or I will make another video at some point talking about them. So, and if you guys want to see some other stuff that's like this, let me know that as well. And maybe from time to time I can just do kind of just general sit down and talk about philosophy or talk about games and that kind of stuff. We'll see what happens. But I want to thank you all. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.